No.
Although some hairstyles probably would say that.
Do you ever purposefully kind of intermix certain political people? Do you ever do anything along those lines that try to break down those divisions?
I have brought some friends that turned out to be the only people that have ever fought with people at the table. You know, like
Go on.
like a couple of friends, some musician dancer friends, and they attended, and they sort of like picked a fight with the people next to them because for political.
Shut up.
Because they're kind of ultra like communist. Yeah. And this is an environment where people have made a few bucks and are able to pay for the damn thing.
Yeah. I'm just like, I mean, maybe you got to invite some senators of both sides of the aisle or House representatives and be like,
That's
all right.
yeah. Oh no, we've had some discussions about having seriously doing that.
Because
Of having the tribes have a, you know.
And no talk of politics. Have them talk about the food and all the other things instead.
I've actually had some substantial conversations of having that as a dedicated, you know, let's improve this fucked up world strategy.
Well, to me, it feels like, you know, Congress could use some trust exercises, you know, like really fall into my arms type of thing, you know?
Well, family style dining.
Yeah.
You can have conflict as a family, but you still got to, you know, figure out who's going to, if you see somebody's getting more or like, I don't know. It's just like the whole atmosphere of family style dining is like, gets everybody in the space of like, oh, I guess you are a human being just like me.
Yeah.
I guess you can't just lead with your political, you know, posture.
I like lamb too in curry, you know, like that's a whole thing. You know, the only thing I could see fighting over is you had too much of that. You didn't share enough, which I felt I was like borderline doing last night. I was like, did I just take a little too much?
You're a little bigger, so you should get a little more food, right?
That's true. I just wish I brought my stretchy pants. You know, I was.
It's a feast, so it has to be abundance.
Yeah, you did a great job last night.
I did a great job eating.
Yeah.
Do you admire my eating skills?
Serving. They're perfectly portioned.
I thought he was like, the way you just like scoop that up and put it in your mouth, like
pretty elegant.
There's also that moment where someone has to take the last morsel, and they perform this thing of like, it's not going to be me. Take that last morsel, and someone has to step up.
That would be me. I will ask a lot of times because I get, you know, my wife is like, you just took that, you know? And like I once was on a date with someone who scolded me about that. She was like,
"Oh, your wife took it?"
No, this is before my wife, and she scolded me for taking the last piece. And she's like, "You're supposed to offer that." I'm like, "Well, did you want it?" And she's like, "No, but you still are supposed to offer it, you know?" And I was like,
"This date is done."
Yeah, that didn't go anywhere. She also did this whole hypothetical, like if we were stuck in the desert and, you know, but you had to carry me out, like, you know, should you eat the last can of beans, you know, or should you share that? And I was like, well, if I have to carry you, like, I need the strength.
Good point.
That's a good argument.
Yeah. Let me ask, like, how do you pick these chefs for this? I know you probably get asked a lot of this, you know, but it seems like a really cool process. Like you get it's like you and your team kind of.
It's actually coming up. Like, I was going to do it this morning, actually.
Oh shit!
Thinking about next season, and it's been rolling around in my brain what's going to happen next time. But it's actually quite a bit of the guests have. You know, they actually do the same thing the whole time. I mean, every time when they're like, sort of like, hey, what's your process for like people like, and basically I have an idea of some chef or you should use this person, that person, but it's kind of, a lot of people have ideas and throw them all together, different locations and, but they are required to do storytelling and, you know, through the people that do the work to bring food to the table. And that all has to be on the menu. And there's a bit of, you know, James Beard Award winning sort of. We joke that we have more James Beard Award winners than the James Beard Foundation. You know, the Oscars of cooking. And there's a lot of. And I remember one chef said, you know, I'll do a little talk a little speech at the end. He said. So there's two things chefs want to do today. They want to get a James Beard Award, and they want to do outstanding in the field. I was like, okay, cool.
Have you been approached to be on Top Chef? Have you done Top Chef?
I have not done Top Chef. There has been more than. Maybe,
I feel like they copy your vibe sometimes.
Yeah, there was probably 300 or 400 approaches from television production companies to do some version of Outstanding in the Field, and I did agree to do a television series.
But Patrick gets it.
Yeah, Patrick, he understands.
Yeah,
how it works.
he understands.
I paid my dues.
That's
paid
right.
my dues.
Exactly.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah.
I'm not a corporate sellout that rushes in and offers children millions.
Not a shell.
Yeah, you got to keep it real or semi-real.
You know what I read somewhere I thought was really cool was like you compared small farms to surf spots. How is that? What do you mean by that?
There's actually a great spot. Well,
we don't. You can. We'll bleep it out. We'll bleep it out.
It has. There's a few places that that are notable surf spots in to those who know that have a fantastic spot that has storytelling associated with food. Mm-hmm. And okay, I can't talk about that. Let's talk about something else. But yes, there's there's the variables of.
I feel like small farms, not just surf spots, but secret
and,
spots. Maybe
yes,
more so.
It's true. And there's several places that we call the secret this or the secret that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just because we haven't actually figured out where to put the table. So it's a placeholder.
What's been logistically the most complicated setup for you? That's been like the one that you're like never again.
Yeah, 50% of them are a complete pain in the ass. I like the difficult ones, but I like to do the events that have something to do with the tide.
Yeah.
So I've done that on the east and west coast and several locations.
We got like a whole bunch of kids waving at us here. It's really cute.
That is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
That is adorable. I love that.
So it's like, being live. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's like the Today Show here. I was telling you, Got to start advertising ahead of time so we get all the surfers here. Patrick, I want to ask you. Now that you've completed this film, what's the next project for you? What are you going to be working on? And are you taking Jesse along now with you?
I'm going to take Jesse. I'm going to teach him how to surf. We're going to Colombia together.
What?
And then we're going to. I'm also working on a new book, my fourth book with Powerhouse Books here out of Brooklyn, and it's going to be like culture, travel. 35 countries. Just kind of like a repertoire. Oh, well.
Where did that come from?
Can you cut this out? I don't know. What kind of language is it?
A reportage.
But yeah, like a journalistic piece, kind of like a sketchbook of all my travels, that combine food, culture, surfing, adventure, some stories. I'm going to have like guys like Kidman and Beamish, write about our adventures, like the currents a part of it. And like, it's going to be like this big,
Just
awesome
McCoy.
blowage. Yeah, McCoy, when I got my eyeball almost shot out in Alaska with Captain Liska when we were on this surf trip.
Can we visit that one here for a second?
That's a pretty funny one.
It's a good story.
Yeah, we were up on the boat trip in the like late 90s with Rat Boy, Pete Mel, Adam Rapolgo, Mocha, and myself. Josh always been a big fan of Alaska, and he kind of pioneered surfing up there. Mm-hmm. We found this like random cowboy captain up there that had a boat, and he just started surfing. He's a snowboarder. Yeah, and this guy had this crazy idea to go on this like deserted island in the middle of nowhere, Midway Island. In between storms, we make it out there. We kind of had a big night before, and so we were all a little seasick. Once we got out there, the boys started like getting out, little guns, whatever, BB guns, and I was like, you guys are lame. Like, I want to like cruise and enjoy nature. This is one of the most peaceful places on earth. There's nobody around. You guys are like fucking good old boys, like shooting guns, right? And they're like, yeah, whatever. Euro style guy. Go take
Yeah.
your little like photographs of like rocks and kelp. Have fun. And I'm like, yeah, I will. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna shoot some nice black and white still eyes of rocks and kelp and all that stuff. So I took off and
Slow shutter speed, whatever, man.
right. And so I cruise off. I'm gone for an hour and come back and like, gosh, idiots! You guys are still on this. Like they're still shooting at these buoys in the water. And the second I got there,
Yeah.
captain took a shot. The pellets hit the buoy, and my right eye almost doesn't function ever since birth. So I only have one good eye. It's my left eye, and one of the pellets like landed right in my eye socket.
Oh,
And I dropped to the ground. I'm like, oh, my eye,
motherfucker.
and they're like, don't joke like this. I'm not. No, really, I got shot in the eye, my shooting eye.
You'll shoot your eye out. Did you have like the Christmas story kind of going through your head there?
I didn't grow up with that, so I don't know what you're
all
talking about. But anyways, like Rhodey, like came like
You know what I'm talking about, Jess, right?
I do.
Rhodey opened up my eyeball, and he's like, blink, blink, I see it, blink, blink, and like the pellet like dropped right in his hand, and it just like landed right in the socket. So I got lucky; it didn't hit me right
Oh,
straight on.
that is your career right there.
I know, and that was in the beginning of my career
Yeah.
with Surfer Magazine, so I definitely would have put a quick end on it. So I'm glad it didn't happen. Funny enough, there's a French adventure sports magazine that took the whole story
Yeah.
and did an article about it, but they added something, a little extra, little lie. They said I had to get flight out via helicopter to the next hospital, which is a total lie. They just made it up to make the story a little bit more interesting,
Hey, whatever sells, right?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That's
So, but
crazy.
yeah, that was funny.
So this book project sounds really interesting, and I know we were kind of talking a little bit about it last night, like how it came about. I was hoping maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that for our listeners, because it was a really interesting kind of story here. Like,
Right.
how did
Yeah.
it come about?
It was, so in the late '90s or mid '90s, I got signed up by Surfer Magazine. I was one of the staff guys,
Yeah.
and I was fortunate enough to travel the world. Like that started with the Alaska trips. Went up to British Columbia, got to go to the Hebrides for like that whole scene that happened with 9/11.
Yeah,
and
with Derek and
Derek Hind
Andrew
and Andrew
and
Kidman.
Skip.
Yeah, Tom Curran and Skip, and I had Christian Beamish there, so it was great. Just great group of friends, and went to the Azores right after with Greg Long. He just turned 18,
Nice.
and but here I was traveling the world on their dime. I was supposed to come back with the goods. You
The
get
good
like
old days.
You get like the killer, cover shot is like always like the prime thing. But I always loved shooting like, rock formations, kelp, flowers, birds, like whatever I could find, animals, like people. I love shooting people,
Yeah.
And the photo as a Surfer Magazine, they're like, "What's going on here? You think you work for National Geographic or something?" Like, and like we're paying you like all this like film, like medium format, like color, black and white, like tons of 35 millimeter, and it was great. It was almost like, like that was like my education. That's how I like sharpened my skills of being a photographer, because as a young up and coming photographer pre-digital, it was like, if you didn't have that support, it was almost impossible to shoot a roll of film, which at the end of the day costs you $15, $20, and I would shoot like 50, 60, 70 rolls on these trips. But anyways, long story short, I built up this huge collection of photographs over the years. I have a giant archive. And, for years I was, got more into filmmaking and kind of like lost interest in my old photographs, and photography wasn't like a prime deal. I just did my last book maybe in 2012 or something like that with Powerhouse Books, Surface Blood. But I got more and more into filmmaking. And so last summer there's a huge raging fire in Santa Cruz. And I pretty much had to leave everything behind, but besides, cats and dogs kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we had to evacuate the house. And I was gone for a few weeks and got back, and luckily the house was still there. And that's when I really appreciated this huge collection of photographs that I had. And then shortly after COVID started,